So let's get right into it. There's this incredible cleaning technology, dry ice blasting, that promises to be fast, chemical-free, and leave zero residue. Businesses get really excited about it until they see the price tag, and that's when everything just kind of grinds to a halt. The big question is a dry ice blasting machine actually worth that pretty hefty investment? We're going to break it all down.
And look, it really is a revolutionary technology. The market for this stuff is blowing up. It's expected to hit $220 million by 2028. But, for a business owner on the ground, the immediate catch is, well, it's pretty obvious.
Yep, $3,000, and that's often just to get in the door. An entry-level machine can easily set you back that much, and it makes a lot of companies just stop and ask, wait a minute, can the benefits really justify this price?
Okay, to really understand the value proposition here, you first have to understand the science behind it. And honestly, it's a fascinating process. It's way more than just spraying some cold pellets at dirt.
So at its core, the idea is pretty simple. You take solid carbon dioxide, dry ice, and you use a blast of compressed air to shoot it. But the real magic isn't in the spraying. It's all about what happens the instant those pellets hit the surface.
So check this out. Look at step 2. When that frozen CO2 pellet hits a warmer surface, it doesn't melt. It sublimates. That means it goes straight from a solid to a gas, expanding at an incredible rate. This creates these tiny little shock waves that literally blast gunk and grime right off the surface, kind of from the inside out.
And that whole sublimation thing is what leads directly to all of these amazing advantages. Because the dry ice just vanishes into thin air, there's no water, no grit, no chemical mess to clean up afterward. This means you can clean super sensitive stuff like electrical panels without any risk of damage. For a lot of industries, that is a total game changer.
So, okay, the science is really cool. We get it. But let's get back to the money, because that's what we're all here for, right? What does it actually cost to own and run one of these things?
This right here is the most important thing to remember. If you only focus on that initial sticker price, you're making a huge mistake. It completely ignores the bigger financial picture. You have to look at the total cost of ownership.
So first, let's talk about the machine itself. As you can see, the price can vary a lot, depending on what you're doing. An auto detailing shop? You might just need a $2,000 entry-level unit. But a huge factory that's running this thing all day, every day, you could be looking at an investment of $30,000, maybe even more.
And remember, the machine is just one piece of the puzzle. You've got to factor in all these ongoing costs. The dry ice pellets themselves, the seriously powerful air compressor you need to run the machine, the electricity, maintenance on parts like nozzles that wear out, and of course, the time your employees spending on the job. Okay, so we've added up all the costs. Now we get to the most important part, the return on that investment. How does this fancy new tech actually stack up against the old school ways of cleaning? This data from the CleanLink Industrial Report, wow, it tells a really powerful story. Just look at the difference. Dry ice blasting cuts labor costs in half compared to chemical cleaning, but the number that really jumps out at me is the downtime. 2 hours compared to 5 or 6. For a manufacturing plant, that's not just a small difference, that is absolutely enormous.
Let's put some big, bold numbers on that. Based on data just like this, companies that switch to dry ice blasting have reported up to a 60% cut in their labor costs for cleaning. Just gone. More than half of that expense just wiped away.
And this one might be even more impressive. They've seen up to a 70% reduction in production downtime. Think about that for a second. That's time your machines are actually running and making you money, not just sitting there waiting for someone to finish cleaning them.
And finally, my favorite number, 0. That's what it costs to get rid of hazardous chemical waste or deal with contaminated water. Why? Because there isn't any. That's an entire expense category just erased from your budget.
Okay, so clearly the savings can be massive for some businesses. But is it right for you? Well, that answer really depends on your specific industry and what you do every day.
You can see just how wide the range of uses is here. In food processing, you can sanitize conveyor belts without a drop of water or chemicals. For electronics, you can clean delicate circuit boards because the process is totally dry and non-conductive. Each industry finds a unique, powerful benefit from the technology.
So, here's a quick checklist for you. If you're spending over $2,000 a month on cleaning, if downtime is a major headache for you, or if you're dealing with sensitive equipment or strict environmental rules, then you are a prime candidate for this technology. And for businesses like that, the ROI can show up incredibly fast, sometimes in as little as 6 to 12 months. All right, we've walked through the tech, the costs, and the massive benefits. So let's bring it all home for the final verdict and bust a couple of common myths while we're at it.
The two biggest things that make people hesitate are cost and safety. The reality is, for the right business, the savings in labor, downtime, and waste disposal can pay for the machine really, really fast. And as for safety, look, dry ice is just solid carbon dioxide. As long as you have proper ventilation, which, by the way, OSHA requires anyway, it's perfectly safe to use.
This quote from the source material really just says it all, doesn't it? It's not just a small improvement, it's a fundamental leap forward in how we think about industrial cleaning. It's faster, it's cleaner, and it's safer.
And that brings us right back to the big question we started with. But now, it's not really for me to answer. It's for you. You have to look at your specific operation, your cleaning costs, and how much money you lose every time your production line stops.
And the best part is, you don't have to guess. The smartest way to make this decision is to just run the numbers. Use what's called a total cost of ownership, or TCO calculator. You plug in what you're currently spending on labor, materials, and downtime, and you compare that to the cost of a dry ice blasting system. The data won't lie. It will give you the real answer.